What do you do when obedience to God puts your life at risk? What do you do when doing the right thing makes you a target? Daniel faced that moment, not as a young boy, but as an older man who had served God faithfully for decades. This is not just a story about lions. It is a story about pressure, integrity, fear, and faith that refuses to bow. Daniel did not become faithful overnight. His faith was built through years of quiet obedience. He served in a foreign land, under different kings, in a culture that did not honor his God. Yet Daniel remained excellent, so excellent that the king planned to put him over the entire kingdom. But excellence attracts attention, and sometimes it attracts enemies. The officials watched Daniel closely. They searched for mistakes, for corruption, for weakness, but they found nothing. Daniel was faithful in his work and faithful in his walk with God. So they said, "We will find no fault in this man unless it concerns his God." That statement alone tells us something powerful. Daniel's faith was visible. The officials approached the king with flattery. They appealed to pride. They proposed a law. For 30 days, no one should pray to any god or man except the king. Anyone who disobeys will be thrown into the lion's den. The king, unaware of the trap, signed the decree, and just like that, faith became illegal. Daniel heard the law. He understood the consequences. But he did not panic. He did not protest. He did not hide. He went home, opened his window, as he always had, and prayed. Not louder, not differently. The same prayers, the same posture, the same faith. This was not rebellion. This was consistency. The officials rushed in and caught Daniel praying. They did not celebrate justice. They celebrated his downfall. They ran to the king. "Did you not sign a decree?" they asked. The king realized the trap too late. He tried to save Daniel. But the law of the Medes and Persians could not be changed. As Daniel was brought forward, the king said something unusual. "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." Even the king recognized Daniel's faith. A stone was rolled over the den. It was sealed, and Daniel was lowered into darkness. The lions were hungry. The den was silent. But Daniel was not afraid. God sent his angel. The lions were restrained. The night passed without harm. Faith does not always remove danger. Sometimes it neutralizes it. At dawn, the king ran to the den. "Daniel, has your God been able to save you?" From the darkness came a calm voice. "My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths." Daniel was lifted out, untouched. The accusers were thrown into the den. The lions did not hesitate. Then the king made a decree. The God of Daniel is the living God. His kingdom will never end. Daniel did not compromise. He did not hide his faith, and God did not fail him. Your lions may look different. Pressure, fear, opposition. But the same God still delivers. Stand firm. Pray anyway. God still shuts lions' mouths. The palace was silent. The king had witnessed something no decree could explain, no army could achieve, no idol could imitate. He stood before the reality of a living God. This was not the power of magic. This was not luck. This was divine intervention. And the king knew it. The king wrote a new law, not of fear, but of faith. He sent it across the empire to every province, every people, every language. A declaration not to silence prayer, but to honor the God who hears it. He proclaimed, "Daniel's God is living. His kingdom will never be destroyed. His dominion will never end." Daniel was restored, not just to safety, but to influence. The same man who was lowered into darkness was lifted into greater authority. God did not only save Daniel, he established him. Faith was rewarded publicly. Daniel did not fight the lions. He trusted God. He did not argue with the law. He remained obedient. He did not abandon prayer. He remained consistent. And consistency is what made his faith unshakable. You may not face lions, but you face pressure. Pressure to stay silent. Pressure to compromise. Pressure to blend in. But heaven still watches those who stand firm. God still honors courage. God still defends faith. The lions' mouths were shut, not by Daniel's strength, but by God's presence. And the same God still works today. He still protects. He still delivers. He still vindicates. Stand firm when it's costly. Pray when it's dangerous. Trust God when it's lonely. Because the God who shut the lions' mouths is still alive, and your story is not over. After the lion's den was opened, after Daniel was lifted out, there was silence. No celebration yet. No applause, just awe. Everyone had seen it. No wounds, no fear on Daniel's face. Only peace. The officials could not speak. The soldiers stood still. They had expected a body. They received a testimony. Daniel did not defend himself. He did not boast. His life spoke louder than words. This miracle was not hidden. It was public. Faith was no longer a private matter. It was undeniable. The same men who mocked prayer now feared the God who answered it. The king could not sleep that night. Power had failed him. Laws had failed him. But faith had not. He realized something unsettling. There is a throne higher than his. Daniel returned to his duties. No new crown, no dramatic speech, just obedience. Faith does not always change your routine. It changes your authority within it. Daniel was older now. He could have relaxed. He could have withdrawn, but he remained faithful. Not because miracles followed him, but because faith defined him. Daniel still prayed 3 times a day, not because God saved him, but because God was worthy. Deliverance did not replace devotion. The kingdom watched Daniel closely, not to accuse him, but to understand him. They saw wisdom without pride, strength without violence, faith without fear. Daniel's story spread beyond his lifetime. Parents told it to children. Servants whispered it in homes. A man trusted God, and God stood with him. The lion's den remained. A place once meant for death became a reminder of life, a symbol that God rules even in darkness. The officials learned a hard truth. Position does not protect you. Schemes do not save you. Only God controls outcomes. Daniel never chased influence. Influence followed him, because faith that stands under pressure stands taller than crowns. This was never about Daniel alone. It was about a God who honors trust, a God who enters dens, a God who silences danger. Centuries would pass, kingdoms would fall, but Daniel's story would remain, a message written not in ink, but in faith. God did not remove the lions. He removed their power. Sometimes God does not change the situation. He changes the outcome. Daniel walked out the same man who walked in, but the world was changed because one man refused to stop praying, and the God who shut the lion's mouth still reigned.